Hi, my name is Lexi Jong and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the CHIKUHODO Kazan series. And this is also known as the Honor series. It's the Kazan Homare Honor series from CHIKUHODO. And Kazan refers to the type of squirrel hair that's used. So we'll get into that in a minute, but I just wanted to let you know that we are also going to be doing a demo of these brushes. And in that demo, it will be my first time using the new Chantecaille Safari collection. So if you're interested in that, stick around for the demos as well. I've got the eye trio on and the lip veil is the Acacia lip veil. Taking a look at the actual Kazan series brush, we have a lightweight wooden handle. This is made out of granadillo wood. And you can see that it has a beautiful color and you can see all the texture in the wood from it. It's very smooth, no worry of like splinters or anything like that. It's also incredibly lightweight and it does have a flat bottom, which can help this, stand up straight like in a cup or something if you would like to do that. The ferrule is metal and it does have a rounded edge here, which I think is pretty important because when you are dealing with, brush hairs that are so soft and delicate, if you have something sharp here and you bend it over time, you will end up breaking those hairs off. So this one does appear to be rounded and kind of smoothly finished where it comes in contact with the hairs. The hairs are actually made from Kazan squirrel hair, and that is a type of brown hair, and it is the most rare or one of the most rare brush hairs at the moment, and it is incredibly soft. So this type of squirrel hair is very, very good at picking up product very well. Sometimes squirrel hair brushes, they're so soft that they have a hard time picking up and depositing the color because they are so soft. That's not the case with this type, and this type of hair is also very, very good for dry, sensitive skin because it is so incredibly gentle. I do not have a super large Fude brush collection. However, I do have some of the CHIKUHODO Fox series. This is the F01 that I'm holding up. And until this point, these were my softest hairs. These are super, super soft. They're also, if you look at the actual hair fiber, I'm not sure if you can even see like some of these lone ones poking out. They are incredibly thin in diameter. So they're very, very soft. These are supposed to be a little bit stronger, more resilient than squirrel hair, but still have the softness of squirrel hair. And I love these brushes, and they were my softest brush until I purchased these. The Kazan squirrel brushes, I really didn't think I could get much softer, but they really are. They are the softest brush I have ever touched, and I think they are incredible. So I've been testing them out for several weeks. I've actually washed them a few times, and I've done it with and without a brush guard. I typically dry my brushes without a brush guard except for certain shapes. These do just fine. This is what it looks like dried without a brush guard. So this one here is the KZ04, one of the cheek brushes. And then I also purchased the KZ05. This is the highlight brush. And you can see looking at these that the KZ04 is gonna have more of a dome-shaped head, and it's a little bit flat on the top. I'm not sure if you can really tell there, but it kind of domes up and flattens out at the top and curves down. And this here is the KZ05, the highlight brush, and you can see that it kind of goes into this ovular shape. And it's sort of a point. It's not like a super sharp point, but it's like a dull point at the top. I also purchased 3 of the eye brushes. So we have the KZ06. This is your flat shader style, and you can see that's actually pretty wide. So it's pretty thick here as well, which, really makes it a little bit more multi-use. I like to use this under my eyes for powder, but it also works really well in the crease area and for one and done shades. So I really ended up liking this brush, and I don't typically like these larger eyeshadow brushes, but this one I really liked, and it made me kind of reinvestigate the Fox brush that I had that is a similar shape. This here is the KZ07 brush, and this is more of the soft flat shader style brush. And you can see that it is a little bit of a smaller head in general. I really like this. And then I also purchased the KZ08, and this one, you can see it comes to a point at the top, and it's like a pencil brush, but because of the point, it works so well in a variety of areas. Using this for, smudging eyeshadow, using it for inner corner, under the brow arch, those all work great. You can also use it to apply deeper color in the outer corner. So I think it's a very versatile brush. I really like this one. Starting with the KZ04, I have two brush comparisons that are relatively close. So these are the CHIKUHODO Z4 and the Surratt cheek brush, and they're all about the same height. And if you look at the Z4, they're almost the same shape. The difference is that the KZ04 is a little bit more plush, it's more dense. And if you look at the actual ferrule here, the Z4 is going to be a little bit more of an oval ferrule, so it kind of pinches in a little bit here, whereas the KZ04 is completely round. And I think the density on the hairs is a little bit, it's a little bit more dense in the KZ04. The actual shape of the bristles, however, it's basically the same. They both have that dome shape. Because of the density of the KZ04, you're able to get more of that flat top there. So they're pretty similar, but different. This is the Surratt cheek brush, and you can see that they're going to be a pretty similar size and shape as well. They both have the round ferrule, and this one doesn't really go flat at the top. It's got that dome shape as well, but it's going to, just continue that curve. If you look closely, if I put the ferrules together, you can see that the KZ04, the bristles are going to be slightly longer than the Surratt. And again, we have that flat top and the density is a little bit more. So the ferrule is actually a little bit thicker here on the KZ04 than it is on the Surratt cheek brush. I was looking at some of my other cheek brushes, like the Sonia G cheek brushes and so forth, but honestly, this one just doesn't really compare to any of the others. I think the closest match is the Z4. And honestly, when I picked up the KZ04 originally, I thought it was going to be the same brush as the Z4, just with the different brush hair. But it's really not. It's definitely going to have some differences. And if I had to pick one, honestly, I think I'd go with the KZ04, because this one, the flat top, works really well to, kind of put colors where you want it. And yet it's really loose and, easy to disperse product as well. So this has become one of my favorite blush brushes. I really, really love this. The KZ05 is the highlight brush. And if you take a look at this shape, you can see that it has more of that oval shape to it, but we do have an oval ferrule here, which allows the wider sides to be more flat. So it's not going to be, a completely, angled brush in that sense. I don't have a lot of brushes like this, so I'm going to compare this to the Surratt and this is the Z series one. I'm not sure, is it Z5 maybe? But it's the highlight brush in the Z series. And you can see that the Z series brush has a round ferrule versus the oval ferrule here on the KZ05. They do have a similar shape, but the Z series comes to a stronger point. So it's definitely going to be a lot more angled on the brush hairs. And this one here is the Surratt, and you can see that that's going to have a much more similar shape to the Z series brush. So the actual brush heads are pretty similar on both of them. They're almost the same, and they both have the round ferrule. I've actually heard that these two are basically the same brush, just, the Surratt is a private label. So just something to consider. Now this one, the KZ05, I ended up really liking this shape, and I love how it does have that flat edge, because I think that makes it a little bit more versatile. You don't have to just use it for highlight. Obviously you can use the tip The tip actually is pointed enough and you've got that flat edge, which makes it work well under the eyes if you want something a little larger there. But you could use this for blush, contour, you know, a variety of uses. And I think having the flat side makes it really versatile. And again, another winner for me. Moving on to the KZ06, this is an eyeshadow brush, and you can see that it has a pretty large size here. And I didn't know how much I would like this. I purchased it because I wanted to try it out and I couldn't really, you know, I can read the dimensions, but those honestly don't help me. I'm really much more visual, so I wasn't exactly sure how large it was going to be. Let me start by comparing it to the F05 brush, and you can see that they are both going to be a pretty similar width here. The bristles on the KZ06 are a little bit shorter and they have more of that dome shape, and the F05 is definitely going to be longer and it's not quite as dense. You can see that it's going to be a little bit thinner on this end compared to the KZ06, and it doesn't have that curved angle here. This is definitely going to be more of a flat top, and it's a very subtle curve up here compared to this. Now, if you look at the spring back on these, they are pretty similar in spring back, but because of the longer bristles on the F06, this is going to be slightly fluffier, and the KZ06, you know, it's just going to be a little bit easier for specific placement. The other brushes I have to compare to are two of the Sonia G brushes, and you can see in general how much shorter that the Kazan series is compared to the Sonia G's. And these aren't really a great comparison. The blue one here is the Jumbo Blender from Sonia G, and this is the Worker 1 in the red handle. And you can see how much smaller both of these are, but they do have, you know, kind of a similar function. I really enjoy the Jumbo Blender because it actually is, if you have this, it's kind of like a smaller version of the KZ06. So the Jumbo Blender, you know, you can use in a variety of ways. It works well in the crease, it works well for one and done shades and so forth. This is basically just a smaller version of the KZ06. So the shape and everything is pretty similar. If you look very closely on both brushes, you can see that the brush hairs start getting shorter about here, and on the Jumbo Blender about here, and they end up with the same shape. The Worker 1, on the other hand, is more of the little sister to the the F05? Yes. So this is obviously going to be a lot longer, but these two have the same shape. And those are my comparisons for that. Overall, for the KZ06, wasn't sure how much I'd like it, but I have found that it's a very versatile brush. I love using it for one and done, or, you know, just adding like a base color, but I have found it does actually work pretty well in the crease if you're looking for something that's not super specific. So if you want more of a blown out shade in the crease, this works really well for that. And you'll see me use it that way in the demo. Next up, we have the KZ07 brush, and this is going to be more of that flat shader style brush, yet it's still flexible enough. It's not one of those super stiff ones, but it is firm enough. You can see that it's not super fluffy, so you're able to get precise placement, and the smaller size on here for me works really well on my eyes, and I'm able to get color exactly where I want it. The most similar brush that I have to this is the Sonia G Worker Pro. These two basically have the same brush shape, although the Worker Pro is a little bit more angled at the edges. You can see that this one follows, you know, you've got like a slight curve here and then it kind of flattens out at the top, whereas this one's going to be a little bit more domed. But aside from those small changes, they are pretty similar. The Worker Pro is actually going to be a little bit more dense, but I have found on my eyes they work pretty similarly. This one though is slightly smaller because also I think the density of the hairs helps with that as well. So you can see that the bristles on the KZ07 are a little bit shorter than the Worker Pro as well. Shape-wise, it's very comparable to the soft shader from Sonia G, and this is probably my most used eye brush. And you can see that shape-wise, they're pretty similar. This still curves a little bit more. It doesn't have quite as long of a flat surface at the top as the KZ07, but they are pretty similar. The soft shader, however, is going to be wider. All of these brushes all have oval ferrules, but the Sonia G's are going to be a little bit wider and more dense. Let's take a look at the KZ08, and you can see that this is kind of like a longer pencil brush with a tapered edge. And my most similar brush to this is the CHIKUHODO T8 brush. You can see that they are pretty similar. The T8 hairs, they're actually just slightly, very slightly longer than the KZ08, but the shape and everything is pretty much the same. They both have the round ferrules. I believe the ferrule on the KZ08 is very slightly thicker. It's maybe a little bit more dense. The angle of the taper where the hairs actually start, I'd say cut, but they're actually not cut, they're hand placed. So where they actually start getting, longer, I guess, technically, it seems to be at the same point for both of them. And it's just you can see the 8 is just very slightly taller. But these two brushes are pretty similar and I really enjoy both of them. The T8, you can use this with cream products, whereas this one here, the KZ08, you really just want to stick with powder. Other than that, I don't have a good match for this brush shape. This one here is the Sonia G Pencil 1, and you can see that it's sort of like if you just had the ferrule go all the way up to here on this brush. They're a pretty similar shape up there. But obviously this is going to be much longer, and because of the longer bristle hairs, you get a little bit more flex with the brush. So you can do, a lot of soft application. It works very nicely to softly smudge eyeshadow underneath your eyes and so forth. It works great in the inner corner. And I use the Pencil 1 here for that as well, but this is going to be a firmer application. Both of these Sonia G brushes I have here are undyed goat hair, and they can be used with cream or powder products, whereas the KZ08 can only be used with powder. And it's kind of like here, this is the Pencil Pro, and you can see that they are going to be similar if instead of having the taper point, you just kind of made it into a dome shape here. They're about the same size though. The ferrules are about the same diameter, and aside from the longer bristles here, if you kind of cut it off right here, they'd be about the same. Let's go ahead and do a quick demo of all of these brushes so you can see them in action, and then we'll come back and I'll give you my thoughts on these brushes. On my eyes, I have the Hourglass Primer, and I'm starting off with the CHIKUHODO KZ06, and I'm gonna go into this taupe shade. I'm trying to get a lot of the powder more here on the side, so I have some on the flat edge and a little bit extra on the side. So I'm focusing in the crease, and then I'm just taking that flat edge and putting it on the brow bone. Going in with the KZ08, just to deepen up the crease a little bit, I'm going into this copper shade. Taking the KZ07 into the gold. KZ07 into the red earth. KZ07 in the taupe. Back in with the KZ06, no additional shadow, but I'm just taking a tip and blending the edges in the crease. Using the Chantecaille Luster Glide Silk Infused Eyeliner in the shade Earth. This is really just a dark brown. KZ08, and there's no shadow. Just going over that liner a little bit. I'm going to swirl the KZ08 into the taupe shade for the lower lash line. For the inner corner, I am taking the Guerlain Meteorites Pearl Dust palette, and I'm going to go into this peach shade, Pearly Amber, with the KZ08. Just a touch in the inner corner. And whatever's left, I'm just putting under the brow. And this is the eye look using the Kazan brushes. On my skin, I have the Chantecaille Future Skin Foundation in a mix of Porcelain and Alabaster. And I also have a very light dusting of the Chantecaille Eclat Dew powder. And we're gonna go ahead and start off with blush. We're gonna use this Smitten shade. This is one of the Philanthropy cheek shades. I'm going to take the CHIKUHODO KZ04. Picks up plenty of product very, very easily. Just tapping off anything else. And just, I'm doing a very light coating right at the moment. I'm wiping the brush on a microfiber cloth, and now I'm just going to go ahead and kind of soften that blush a bit. All right, and here's the blush. The brush applies perfectly. You know, I've used this with quite a few different products. By the way, this blush isn't quite so luminous normally, but I had a little bit of the overspray left, which kind of worked its way into the blush. So normally it's a little bit more of a subtle luminescence without the overspray. This brush, however, picks up the products very, very well. And as you can see, it is narrow enough that you can deposit the product, and then it's fluffy enough that you can easily disperse or remove product as, you know, effortlessly as you want. For highlight today, we're going to be using the KZ05 highlight brush, and this is the Westman Atelier Peau de Pêche. Just getting a little bit on here. And there you go. This product is a little bit firmer, and so I think normally I wouldn't really use that with this brush just because I feel like it might be a little bit too delicate. However, with a regular powder highlight, this brush works great. Let me show you with the Guerlain Pearl Dust. So we've got the brush here. Let's go into Pearly Amber, just add a touch more. And you can see how nicely that goes on. And I barely have to touch either the product or my face. It's, I mean, just a very light touch to the powder, and look how much product you get. All right, and that's it for the brush demo. I hope the demo was helpful. Let's go ahead and go over my thoughts on these brushes. I've been using them for quite a while now, for several weeks. I've gone through a few washings of them to, you know, make sure that they stand up well and so forth. we're gonna start off with the eye brushes. And let me start off by saying that all 5 of these brushes I absolutely love, and I would definitely purchase all 5 of these again. So there is definitely nothing negative I can say about any of these. They are some of my favorite brushes, you know, in my entire collection. Starting with the KZ06, as I mentioned before, I didn't think I'd like this one so much, but I really do. I'm glad I have it, and I find it very versatile. I like to use it under the eye for powder sometimes, and I really like using it as one and done or in the crease. Works great for blending out. All 5 of these brushes pick up product very well and disperse it very nicely, and they are super, super soft. So if you're somebody who has really sensitive skin and you've been looking for the softest brushes that still work well, it's definitely this series in my opinion. The KZ07, I love this brush. It is a small soft shader style, which is my favorite shape of brush. And I hope they add more to this line. I'd like one that is slightly larger than this as well. Something kind of in between these 2 sizes, maybe a little bit closer to this size, but a little larger. And I love this. It works well. I use this, you know, primarily on the lid, but yeah, not much to say about it, but one of my favorites. The KZ08, really, really love it. I love pencil brushes, and I have a hard time finding some that I truly love. Most of them seem, you know, nice or good, but not great. And I really, really love how flexible and soft this is. It's obviously not going to work with firmer products because it is so soft, and I can't use it with cream products, but using it for, you know, powder products under the eye, I love it. And, you know, I think it works perfectly underneath or in the inner corner and so forth. So really love this brush. Again, as I mentioned before, you can use it to deposit, you know, color to the outer corner, or if you're looking for a specific placement, it has that nice pointed angle at the top. So, you know, if you're doing like a halo eye or something, this works well for that as well. KZ05 brush, absolutely love it. The only brush in my collection that has this, you know, traditional highlight brush shape, but has that flat edge. So I find it very versatile, and it works great for powder. If you're somebody who likes a powder just like your T-zone and everything, this brush is perfect for that. That flat edge works great there, and it's small enough that you can get it exactly where you want it. I love it for highlight. I've used it for bronzer and contour as well, and that works nice if you're looking for a lighter application. And overall, fantastic. You could double this one up for blush if you didn't want to purchase a separate blush brush. It's just a great all-purpose brush in my opinion. Really, really enjoying this. And then we have the KZ04, and I mentioned before, I absolutely love this one as well. I love having this flat top here, so you can deposit the color exactly where you want it. Then you can kind of blow it out or blend it out however you'd like. I don't typically use the side of the brush. I prefer to do more of a swirling motion with this, or a sweeping, but I don't use, you know, too much like this, although I have seen people do that with this brush. So, you know, it's up to you, but I think it's really meant more for this type of motion. And if you really like to apply, you know, powder products with more of that style, this would be a good choice in my opinion. Let me follow up by saying none of these brushes are truly necessary to have, but I absolutely love them. I'm glad that I made them part of my collection, and I'd really like to get more from this series. I think they are incredible. They're super soft. I love the actual appearance of them. They are top heavy, so depending on what your brush system storage is, you know, keep that in mind. And yeah, I absolutely love this. I actually purchased, well, I didn't purchase it, I got this for my birthday, but this is the brush bar from Kitten Hooks. And I saw this on Jaybird Walking, and she uses this to store her brushes. This is silicone in here, and you can, you know, stick your brushes in. It's flexible. You can put them like here in the petal even and so forth. So this is a good option for brushes as well. Most of my brushes I store in these type of containers. I just like to have them handy and within reach. I used to keep them all in a drawer, but I found that it was just too hard to find what I wanted. So now I have a couple of these, and I kind of separate them by need. So like my shorter brushes go here. I've got a couple of things for larger eye brushes, smaller eye brushes, and so forth. And then I have another container full of brushes as well. And those are all of my thoughts on the CHIKUHODO Kazan Homare series brushes. If you are interested in purchasing these, I purchased my brushes from Visage USA during their last sale. Right now they have a sale going on that ends August 30th, but it might get extended. The last one, and I think the one before that also got extended. So, you know, keep an eye on the community tab if you are interested. I'll post any information I see on the sale there, and also on Instagram. These brushes are also available through CD Japan and Fude Beauty, and both of those are great retailers to purchase brushes from as well. And you just kind of want to check the prices on all three of the sites because prices do vary. Typically, CD Japan is going to be your cheapest retailer for the brushes, but with the sale prices, that's not always the case. And then each of the sites, they do, well, Visage USA doesn't have a rewards program that I'm aware of, but I believe Fude Beauty and CD Japan do have reward programs. So you might want to look into those and see what the best deal for you is. I hope this video was helpful, and thank you so much for joining me. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in my next video. Have a great day and stay safe and healthy.